Welcome back to Tales Island, where every story is a journey. Today, we venture deep into the heart of Africa, to a land where magic and nature are one. We'll uncover the tale of a mysterious girl, a sacred forest shimmering with gold, and the steep price of human greed. This is a story you won't want to miss, so make sure you stay with us until the very end. And if you love timeless tales as much as we do, hit that subscribe button and join our community. Now, let's begin. Long, long ago, in a land of rich, red soil and towering baobab trees, there was a small, quiet village called Kandara. Life there was simple, guided by the rhythms of the sun and the seasons. But what made Kandara truly special was what lay beside it, the Golden Forest. This wasn't just any forest. Its leaves shimmered with a light that seemed stolen from the sun itself. When the wind blew, it didn't just rustle the branches, it sang ancient, forgotten songs that only the wisest could understand. The village elders, their faces etched with the lines of time and wisdom, would often gather the children and share the one sacred rule of the forest. Take only what you need, they would say, their voices low and serious. Respect the forest, for it is not just a place of wood and leaves. It is alive. The forest provided them with food, medicine, and shelter, and in return, they offered it their reverence. But not everyone felt this way. Many of the younger villagers feared the forest's strange beauty and the whispers that seemed to follow them among the trees. And there were others, their hearts already tainted by whispers from the outside world, who didn't see a living spirit but a treasure chest waiting to be opened. They looked at the shimmering leaves and saw not magic, but gold. Deep within the heart of this mystical golden forest, where the light danced in 1,000 shades of amber and gold, lived a young girl named Amahel. She was unlike anyone in the village of Kandara. Her skin glowed with the warmth of polished bronze, and her dark hair curled in intricate patterns, like the wild vines that climbed the ancient trees. There was an aura of peace about her, a stillness that calmed even the most frantic of creatures. When she walked, something truly magical happened. The great trees, with their old, gnarled trunks, would seem to lean in closer, their branches reaching down as if to greet a beloved friend. The animals of the forest, from the timid deer to the clever monkeys, would follow her without fear, their soft footsteps a gentle echo of her own. Birds, usually shy, would burst into their most beautiful songs whenever she passed by. The elders of Kandara watched her with knowing eyes. They saw the connection she had with the land and whispered among themselves. Amahel, they believed, was not an ordinary child. She was chosen, a guardian selected by the very spirits of the land to be its voice and its protector. She was the forest's daughter. Then, one year, the rains failed. The air grew thick with dust, and the red soil cracked under the relentless sun. It was during this dry, desperate season that the strangers arrived. They rode into the quiet lands of Kandara on strong, powerful horses that snorted impatiently, their hooves kicking up clouds of red dust. The men themselves had a harsh look about them. Their eyes were hungry, constantly scanning the horizon, and they carried sharp, gleaming tools, axes, and saws that glinted menacingly in the sunlight. They had heard tales, carried on the wind and traded in faraway markets, of a forest where the leaves were made of pure gold. They had come to claim this prize. When the village elders approached them, their faces lined with worry, and shared their sacred warnings, the men simply laughed. Their laughter was a harsh, ugly sound that startled the birds from the trees. "We will take everything," their leader declared, his voice cold and final. Soon, the horrifying sound of their work echoed through the valley. The ground trembled with the thud of falling trees. The rivers, once clear and full of life, grew silent and murky. The forest, for the first time in memory, seemed to cry out in pain. It was then that Amahel stepped out from the shadows of the trees, her small frame filled with a powerful resolve. "Leave this place," she warned, her voice clear and strong, carrying over the noise of their destruction. The forest gives life, not riches. The men paused, surprised to see a lone girl confronting them. Then they laughed again and raised their tools to strike another ancient tree. As the strangers ignored her plea, their laughter echoing like a wound in the heart of the forest, Amahul stood her ground. She closed her eyes, a deep serenity settling on her face, and gently pressed her palms flat against the dry, wounded earth. She began to whisper, her words not for the men, but for the land itself. In that moment, the world changed. A powerful wind suddenly rose from nowhere, howling through the trees, tearing at the men's clothes. The ground beneath their feet began to stir. Massive roots, thick as a man's arm, burst through the soil, twisting and coiling like great serpents. A blinding, golden light erupted from the forest floor, so bright it forced the men to shield their eyes. All around them, the remaining trees seemed to grow taller, their branches hardening, standing straight and proud like an army of silent, golden warriors. A symphony of roars, howls, and stamps erupted from the depths of the woods as every animal joined the chorus of defiance. The ground shook with such violence that the greedy men, their confidence shattered, dropped their tools and fled. They ran screaming in pure terror, scrambling over one another to escape the forest's wrath. When the dust finally settled and the golden light softened, the forest stood peaceful and whole once more. But Amahul was gone. In the very spot where she had stood, a magnificent new tree grew, its leaves shining with a brilliance that outshone all the others, a golden sentinel under the African sun. The villagers of Kandara gathered at the edge of the forest, their faces a mixture of awe and sorrow. The silence was profound. They looked at the great golden tree that stood where Amahul had been, its leaves rustling a gentle, familiar song in the wind. In that moment, they understood. They finally understood the elders' warnings, not just with their minds, but with their hearts. The forest was not a thing to be owned, a resource to be plundered. It was a living being, a partner, a sacred trust. It was theirs to protect. From that day forward, they cared for the land with a newfound reverence, and in return, the land cared for them, providing all they needed in abundance. The story of Amahul and the Golden Forest teaches us a simple but powerful truth. Those who respect nature, who see it as a partner and not a possession, will be protected by its strength and nourished by its gifts. But those who act with greed, who seek only to take and destroy, will ultimately lose everything. The land always remembers how you treat it. Thank you for joining us on Tales Island. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales from around the world. Until next time.